Bringing this development now, a municipal workers' strike looms as the biggest local government union, SAMWU, says wage talks with the South African Local Government Association have collapsed. The union is demanding a 2,500 rand salary increase or 7% as well as other benefits. But SALGA, which represents 257 municipalities, is offering only a 2.7% increase. SAMWU says the proposal is biased towards the employer and that none of their demands have been considered. In fact, the union is adding that it will get a mandate from its structures later this month on a way forward. What does that all mean? Let's bring in Deputy General Secretary Dumisane, Magagula, who joins us now via our video link for more on this. Dumisane, thanks for making time. Great to chat to you. Part of what will stand out for many people watching our discussion is that you're demanding, in part, a 7% salary hike. It's way above CPI. How are you justifying this?
Thank you, and good morning to your viewers. As SAMWU, we have consulted with our members, but besides consulting with the members in collecting the mandate for our salary wage demand, we also looked at what are the projections in terms of the revenue collection of municipalities and what comes out of Treasury in terms of the grants that go to municipalities. And we are convinced that in terms of the projections, municipalities will afford even more than 7% of the increase because they are supposed to be collecting. They have a potential of a revenue, and it has been proved that even during the pandemic, revenue collection has increased and grants towards the municipalities have increased. But our demand is not only for an increase of salaries, it's also for improvement of service delivery that goes to communities.
Yeah, but the gap is still quite wide. Hey? 7% and 2.8% are quite, it's not a marginal differential. Are you not worried about things like security of tenure? Say you are granted the 7%, it could give SALGA some ground in the next year to suggest that retrenchments have to follow, given the leap they've had to make if, of course, you get your way.
Look, that's why in the wage negotiations we have now debated and gone into a process where the facilitator should give us a proposal in terms of what should be the increase in the local government sector. The reason for that is so that we make sure that we take care of interests of all the parties, but at the same time make sure that we receive a living wage for municipal workers. The reality is that the municipal workers, they are in a system where there is a large wage gap between employees in the municipalities, especially between those at lower ranks and higher ranks. And we need to get to a system and a standing where these wage gaps are closed. And they can only be addressed by improving salaries at lower levels. That's why our increment says, the demand says 2,500 rands monetary increment. Originally we were at 4,000, but when we came with a 2,500, the employer still did not move, which may mean that we no longer pursue a fallback position.
Interesting you mentioned the facilitator, who in some ways is meant to, as the name suggests, facilitate some kind of meeting of heads. That facilitator has released a proposal, to my understanding, you saying it's biased towards the employer. Tell us why.
Look, our demands, we have quite a number of items in terms of what we're demanding. The facilitator has mostly deferred most of what we have demanded into other processes of the bargaining council. But when it comes to the period of agreement, the facilitator has agreed almost with the employer on a multi-year agreement. The facilitator has almost gone closer to the offering by the employer. We are not in a position to reveal at the moment what the facilitator's proposal is until we are able to go to our members to take a mandate. But currently we are convinced. We had a special NEC yesterday, and the special NEC characterized the facilitator's proposal as just an amplification of what the employer has placed on the table. And the employer has placed the 2.8 increase over 4 rounds of negotiation. The employer has not moved. They've always been on a 3-year agreement for the 4 rounds of negotiations, they have not moved. And as Labour, we have moved from an original demand to a revised demand, and that was not reciprocated by an improvement or a significant move from the employer.
Some people will hear this and say that the union appears to be shifting the goalposts here. When the employer and the union couldn't find each other, there was a unanimous agreement that a facilitator should intervene. A facilitator has intervened, and now there's an accusation that the facilitator themselves are being biased. Is it just because perhaps the union doesn't want to accept hard truths?
Yeah, maybe we should put the perspective correctly.
Sure.
These negotiations have been facilitated right from the beginning. For the first time, due to the Code of Conduct and the Code of Good Practice in terms of the LRA amendments, we have agreed to be on a facilitated process from day one. So what the facilitator has been doing all along is to allow the parties to find each other. But we then had to say, look, if the employer is not moving, time is no longer on our side. Can you give us your proposal? So that's where we are. So we are still in the same process. It's not like we then went to the facilitator and we rejected the facilitator. The facilitator has always been there from the beginning, and we are not convinced that there is a neutrality on the facilitator. But we're not necessarily saying that we're damning the process. We are going to treat it with the integrity that it deserves. It will be the members who will then say, this is what we're accepting, or members will say, no, we want to go on a secret ballot to vote for a potential strike, and that will be the choice of the members that we are leading.
If you were always questioning the neutrality of the facilitator, why allow them to be part of the process to such an extent that you even ask for a proposal from them to begin with?
Look, we've never had a problem with the facilitator from the beginning. And this is the first time that we have said that we're not happy with the formulation of the proposal from the facilitator. But we are going to treat it with the integrity it deserves and take it to the members. It's a process. We cannot frustrate the process without having taken a mandate. We have to go back, refresh the mandate, and when we present it to our members, we are going to say this is what has been placed on the table by the facilitator. It's far from what we were demanding. It is much closer to what the employer was always offering, but it will be up to the members to say this is what they accept or not.
Well, many people will say it becomes incredibly difficult to see what the role of a facilitator is going to be if what they suggest can still be rejected anyway. But let's move on. When are we expecting to hear any word from members about what I presume could very well be a strike?
Right. The special NEC has adopted a program. From this afternoon, we're going out to members to present the report of the whole salary wage negotiations, to have members look at the proposal from the facilitator. And on the 20th of June, we'll be having a special NEC where we are going to consolidate our position and go back to the table to present the view of our members with a hope that we will get to a solution. But parallel to the process, we are also satisfying the prescripts of the law by taking a strike ballot for a potential strike in case members do not accept the facilitator's proposal.
Dumisane Magagula, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us on Newsroom Africa. Really appreciate your time. He is the Deputy Secretary General of SAMWU, the South African Municipal Workers Union. Thanks very much indeed.